What would you do if the person you trusted most celebrated your shared dream, only to shatter it in secret? For Ethan Caldwell, this wasn't a hypothetical, it was the gut-wrenching reality that unraveled on a crisp October evening, just as the leaves outside their small Boston apartment began to fall. He and his wife, Lila, had spent 3 years chasing the same dream: medical school. They'd studied together, cried over rejections together, and, just weeks ago, leapt into each other's arms when acceptance letters arrived from Harvard Medical School. It was their triumph, their shared future. Or so Ethan thought. Their journey hadn't been easy. Ethan and Lila met in undergrad, two ambitious souls bonded by late-night coffee runs and a shared passion for healing others. Ethan, the son of a single mother who worked double shifts as a nurse, saw medicine as a way to honor her sacrifices. Lila, brilliant and fiercely driven, came from a wealthier family but swore she wanted to earn her place, not buy it. They married young, promising to face every challenge as a team. When they both applied to medical school, it felt like fate they'd either rise together or not at all. The night they got their acceptances, Lila popped a bottle of cheap champagne, toasting to our white coats side by side. Ethan believed her, but the cracks started small. Lila began spending more time at the library alone, claiming she needed focus for pre-matriculation prep. Ethan, juggling a part-time job at a local clinic to cover their rent, didn't question it. He trusted her. They'd always split everything: bills, dreams, even the stress of MCAT prep. When the deposit deadline for Harvard loomed, Ethan assumed they'd figure it out together. Their savings were tight, but Lila's parents had offered a loan, and Ethan had applied for scholarships. "We'll make it work," Lila had said, squeezing his hand. He didn't notice her eyes flicker away. The truth hit on a Monday in an email Ethan almost deleted. Subject: confirmation of non-payment. Harvard's admissions office regretted to inform him that his deposit hadn't been received, and his spot was forfeit. Confused, Ethan called the office, his heart pounding. The administrator's voice was clinical. A deposit had been paid for Lila Caldwell, but not for him. Ethan's mind reeled. Lila was already enrolled, attending orientation, while he'd been dropped without a word. He checked their joint account empty. The money they'd saved, the loan from her parents, gone. Used for her tuition alone. He confronted Lila that night. She stood in their kitchen, her face pale but defiant. "I had to secure my spot, Ethan," she said, her voice steady but cold. "You know how competitive it is. I couldn't risk both of us missing out." Her words cut deeper than any knife. She'd known for weeks, planned it, and let him believe they were still a team. "You'll get in somewhere else," she added, as if that softened the betrayal. Ethan stared at the woman he'd vowed to build a life with, now a stranger wearing his wife's face. The days that followed were a blur of rage and grief. Ethan moved out, crashing on a friend's couch. He couldn't afford the apartment alone, and Lila didn't offer to help. He kept replaying their years together, their vows, their late-night study sessions, the way she'd laughed when he proposed with a ring he'd saved 6 months for. How had it come to this? He wanted to hate her, but love doesn't vanish overnight, even when it's broken. He applied to other medical schools, but the rejections piled up. His confidence, once unshakable, crumbled. Maybe Lila had seen something he hadn't, a weakness that made her choose herself over him. Then came the twist, in the form of a letter slipped under his friend's apartment door. It was from Dr. Miriam Hayes, a retired professor who'd mentored Ethan during undergrad. She'd heard about his situation through a colleague and wrote with an offer: a fully funded spot in a lesser-known but rigorous medical program in Chicago starting next semester. "I've seen your heart, Ethan," she wrote. "You're meant to heal, not just others but yourself." Enclosed was a photo from years ago, Ethan volunteering at a free clinic, smiling as he bandaged a child's knee. Lila was in the background, her expression unreadable even then. Miriam's letter was a lifeline, but it forced Ethan to confront a deeper truth. Lila's betrayal wasn't just about money or med school. It was about who they'd become. She'd chosen ambition over loyalty, but Ethan had a choice too. He could let her decision define him, or he could rebuild. He called Miriam, accepting the offer with a voice that shook but didn't break. Chicago wasn't Harvard, but it was a chance to prove he didn't need Lila to become the doctor he'd always wanted to be. Months later, Ethan stood in a Chicago classroom, his white coat crisp and new. The sting of Lila's betrayal lingered, but it no longer controlled him. He'd learned to lean on others: Miriam, his classmates, even his mother, who cried with pride when he told her the news. Lila, he heard, was thriving at Harvard, but whispers of her ruthlessness followed her. Colleagues respected her mind, but not her heart. Ethan didn't wish her ill. He just didn't wish for her anymore. The human value in Ethan's story isn't just in his resilience, but in his refusal to let betrayal harden him. He chose to trust again, not in Lila, but in himself and in those who saw his worth. Every patient he'd one day treat, every life he'd save, would be a testament to that choice. As he stepped into his first lecture, a stethoscope draped around his neck, Ethan felt the weight of his dream, now his alone. And for the first time in months, it felt light.